Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of our I Do Work Here Lady. In this episode you are going to hear 7 stories. The first story you'll hear about how one guy doesn't believe a woman can be a gas technician. The second story is a person who thinks pregnant women can't work and shouldn't work. The third story is an employee mistaken as a young thief. And a store manager who's in fact the store manager. I hope you stay for all these stories today and subscribe for future videos. This story is titled, "Yes, sir, I'm working in your yard. You have an appointment. I'm a service technician for the gas company. I am also the only female service technician for the gas company." This leads to confusion on a daily basis. So, I arrived to a 9 to 12 appointment the other day at 9:05 a.m. Super simple job: exchange gas meter, inspect gas equipment in the house, relight the equipment, and then be on my way to my next call. We get 30 minutes allotted for each job like this, but dispatch understands that this doesn't always work. Sometimes it takes 15 minutes if the old meter was installed well and the gas equipment's all new, but sometimes it takes 3 hours if I have to rebuild their whole service and coax an old boiler back to life. I grab my tools out of the truck, grab a new meter, and head to the front door. The call says the customer left a note with them that said hazard dog, so I figure it's best to check in with the customer before I head into the yard. I knock and ring the doorbell. No answer. So, I pull the customer's number off the call and give them a ring. I said, "Good morning, this is LP from the gas company. You have a meter exchange appointment booked for this morning. Is anyone home?" The customer responds, "Not at the moment. Is the tech there already?" "Yes, sir, I'm here at this address. Will you be home soon?" He replies, "Yes, tell the tech to wait. I'll be home in about 15 minutes. I told him that I'll wait and asked if it was safe to work since there was a dog, but the customer just hangs up without answering my question. So I decide to wait anyway. It's minus 28 degrees. I'm bundled up, but since I'm going to be outside all day, I decide to wait in the truck to preserve my warmth. I drop my tools and the new meter off at the gate to the yard and sit in my truck until the customer pulls into the driveway. When the customer arrives, I immediately leave my truck and jog over to the house. The customer said, "So I spoke with someone in the office and they said the tech was already here. Where is he? I have to get back to work soon. I can't wait here all morning." I told him that I'm the tech, sir, and that was me that you spoke with. If you're all good, I'll get that meter changed out for you and then get the furnace and water heater going. The customer snarkily says, "Well, if you say so, but if that's the case, where are your tools?" I replied, "Over by the gate. I left them there so they'd be ready to go when you got here." The customer then responds, "Okay, say, how long have you been doing this? This specifically?" "A little over a year. Working in the industry, though, almost 9 years. The customer then said, "Okay, go ahead. You don't have anyone coming to help you? It seems like a tough job for a woman." "No, sir, this is actually a simple job. I should be able to have it done in 15 to 20 minutes or so." And the call said, "You have a dangerous dog. Is it contained?" The customer replied, "He's a 12-year-old beagle. You're fine." I don't know why anyone thought he was dangerous. So I could have started almost 3/4 of an hour ago at this point, and my next 2 calls were in jeopardy because of how long I'd been here at this point. So I get to work, and sure enough, his meter's in pretty rough shape. I pull the meter off with some difficulty and my largest wrenches and then start cranking some of the bad fittings out so I can rebuild part of the set and make this job easier next time we have to change the meter. He was leaning over my shoulder the whole time, continually asking if I was sure I know what I'm doing and if I really don't need to call for help. I got my fittings done and went inside. Sure enough, the gas equipment was all high efficiency, so all it took was a couple of resets to clear out the air bubbles, and it fired up perfectly. The call took about an hour once I actually had my tools on, which is a little longer than I anticipated, but a very good time frame for the work that I wound up having to do to leave the place in a safe condition. A very good time frame, mind you, for any tech who could have had the call. As I was gathering my things to go, he got one last jab in and said, "You know, I would really appreciate it if they would send a real tech next time. I don't feel comfortable having one of the office girls do this kind of work for me. I'm going to have a word with the gas company and tell them this." I said, "Sir, for the last time, I'm a qualified service technician." I got my stuff and left. The next customer was a very sweet old lady who met me at the door and immediately presented me with muffins. This story is titled, "Oh, You Work Here. Pregnant Ladies Don't Work." A little bit of axe story. I was 15 at the time and I was looking for a job, and my mom works at a thrift store that she owns, and she was 7 months pregnant. Okay, but anyway, I went to my mom's work with her because it was a Saturday, and my mom wanted to show me around the thrift shop that she owned and still owns. My mom was showing me around. She showed me the storage room, the break room, all that stuff. So the first customer came in, and I watched my mom help them, and I watched her help a few more customers. She was working up front because most of the employees didn't show up for another few hours, and the others were on break or something. Then a girl who, yes, had a Karen hairstyle walked in holding her kid's hand, and this is how the conversation went. I'm just going to call her Karen. Karen says, "Hello, ma'am, where are the scarves at?" My mom replied, "We don't have any on the shelves right now, but I could bring some from the back for you to look at." Karen took a look at my mom and said, "Can I get a real employee, please, like that girl sitting behind you?" My mom replied, "Sorry, ma'am, she's just watching me work. I'm the only person working right now, and I'd be glad to help you." Karen then said, "Pregnant women don't work. They should just stay home." I must have chuckled because Karen glared at me and said, "Sweetie, you in the chair, come help me get a scarf." I said to her, "Oh, I'm her daughter watching her work so I can try it out myself. She's the owner." Karen looked at me shocked as one of the employees walked in from break. Karen says, "I'm calling the police." The employee questions, "What's going on?" And Karen says, "These two fake employees are telling me that they're out of scarves and being rude, and she's saying she's the manager." The employee laughed and said, "Ma'am, that is my boss, and we're going to have to ask you to leave." Karen's face turned red, and she stormed out of the shop, and her kid looked embarrassed for a 5-year-old. This story is titled, "I Can Pull Out My Badge for You." So, I work in a retail drugstore establishment, heavy stream of people from opening to closing, and I've been stuck with this one specific store for over 4 years now. Always got mistaken for employees in other stores, but the situation never got bad. Never have I ever had a customer do anything except ask the big question and then apologize, but this was new. I just walked into my own store normally, carrying a bag with my uniform in it so I can throw it over my current shirt, just in case I have to stop somewhere before or after work for anything. Just for this story's exact reason. It's a straight walk from the front door to the break room, and as I put my hand on the door, this lady starts snapping her fingers at me and doing the nuh-uh sound that you normally try to use on a pet or child if they're misbehaving. Of course, this grabs my attention, and of course, she's looking right at me. The lady says, "What do you think you're doing? You're not allowed back there." I replied, "Pardon? That's for employees only. Are you daft? You can't just go into restricted areas." I'm in my 20s with obvious tattoos at that, and I realize what she means, and I replied, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm one of the employees. My uniform's in my bag, and I can show you my work badge too if that isn't sufficient." I pushed open the door and stepped in before she tried speaking again. Had to start my shift, but was expecting her to storm in, and she never did, and when I came out in the uniform, I didn't even see her in the store anymore. The store manager came up to me and said someone tried to tell her that a child was in the break room attempting to steal the employees' items, and she had to tell the customer that I was in fact an employee after hearing the lady describe what I looked like. I wish I could have seen that conversation go down. This story is titled, "I Am the Manager." So, when I was a cashier at a Taco Bell and got promoted to be a manager, I was expecting Karens, and I was right. Our badges didn't say that we were the manager, it was just the uniforms. So, one of my employees took a break, so I took his job for a bit because I was bored and had nothing to do, and here I encounter a Karen and her little terror. So, I was taking her drinks order, and her little terror cried so loud that everyone looked at her, and the mom said, "Look what you did. You made my little terror cry. Let me speak to the manager, and I demand compensation." She shouted loudly that one of the employees was about to burst out laughing. I walked away to my office and then came back and said, "Hi, I'm the manager. How can I help you?" Almost everyone burst out laughing, and the lady said, "What the heck? Where's your manager? I want to speak to the manager." I replied, "I am the manager." She instantly turned red and went quiet. Of course, she still paid. She was probably embarrassed and just gave up. That's my story. Thank you for reading. This story is titled, "I'm more qualified for your job than you are. I am the head of sales and marketing for a major property developer with 10 years of experience in the industry. Several of those are spent at a large competitor's company. Let us call them money homes. They are considered the epitome of luxury due to the huge price tag, and this will be important later on. My team covers all of the capital and a very large portion of the country. Roll on today. Since we have only recently opened up and are launching new developments for which we do not yet have the staff, today was the interview day. Normally, for those kinds of positions, the person would be interviewed by the sales manager for that particular development or a sales coordinator, and sometimes one of the sales directors. Since it is a bit of a trek for the sales director to come in for the interview, HR asked me to step in, as the new employees would be reporting to me anyway. 8 applicants we have waiting. The first few interviews go pleasantly well, but nothing special until we meet interviewee number 4. Meet Annabelle. Before she comes into the room, she is sitting in the waiting area with the other applicants, and I can hear her go on about how she pretty much has the job in the bag as she is overly qualified. And I can see her shuffling through papers at the admin desk which was left unattended. She still does not realize that our office is behind a Venetian mirror. I can see her, she cannot see me. She hears the admin come back in and scurries away to the back seat. It is now her turn for the interview. She comes in, hands me a copy of her CV, and sits down opposite myself and 2 other members of my team. I look at her CV with a slight half smile, to which I think she took as a good sign. So she goes off talking about her major accomplishments at different employers. She tells us that she is actually more interested in being hired for another position at our company, to which she assures me that she is more qualified than our current employee. She then starts spewing out figures of our marketing campaigns, which have not yet been published, and advises me on the results that we should expect and what our next move in terms of marketing should be. I advise her that the only positions currently open are for sales staff, but ask her which one she is specifically interested in. She mentions, wait for it, sales and marketing director. My job. My co-workers both look at me in waiting, so I decide to play along. I ask her what makes her more qualified than our current director. She comes back to the marketing figures point and asks me outright how many applicants are able to predict to a certainty what results you will achieve, and then leads into a major point on her CV, money homes. So I start asking a little more about her position there. What was her area of responsibility, how long she worked there, etc. She starts off telling this long rehearsed story of how she started there as a negotiator a few years back and worked her way up to associate director, and how she eventually became sales and marketing director but is looking to leave, so she needs to keep it hush-hush. At that point, I could not hold it in anymore. I really wanted to let her carry on, but I just burst out laughing and asked her to leave. She gets very confused and starts asking what she said. That offended me with the biggest grin on my face. I then said, it is one thing hearing you talk down to other applicants when you are supposedly looking for upper management positions, but I watched you steal confidential information from my admin's desk and telling me and my colleagues that you can do a better job than me by lying to me about your experience. She gets offended and starts going off at me that I know nothing about her, and she did not lie about her experience and how I would have known that anyway. And I said, Annabelle, the reason I know you are lying is because I was the sales and marketing director at Money Homes during the years you have described, and not only do I know that you are not in a managerial position, I know that you are not even part of the department, as the department was made of 42 employees, all of which I knew by name. I recommend that if you indeed work there that you contact your director, as I will be filing a grievance against you for stealing confidential documents from their main competitor. Her face went pale as a sheet of cheap toilet paper. She turns on her heel, rips her CV out of my colleague's hands, and runs out the door. Guys, lying about your work experience is already bad enough, but not knowing that you are lying to someone who knows about your prior work experience is pure gold. I feel embarrassed for her. Oh my goodness. This story is titled, Owner Loves to Tell People That He's the Owner. I work for a local hobby and game store. We have several different staff shirts with our store logo on them, but we are not required to wear them unless there is a big event going on. But we also sell different shirts that have our logo on them. So intentionally, it is easy for employees to blend in with customers for loss prevention and a casual atmosphere. The owners rarely wear staff shirts but are proud of their business and wear our for sale shirts regularly when they are in the building. Before the COVID stuff, we had a bunch of people come in every day to use our open tables and play games and hang out. So occasionally we get colorful characters or Karens/Kevins, etc. One of the owners loves coming up to problem people and acting like a fellow customer so he can give them just enough perceived support for them to show their true colors, and then drop the, "Hi, my name is C. I am the owner of the store. Get out of my store and do not come back." It is like his favorite thing is to watch these people go from confident to confused to, "I am going to get your manager to wait. Did he say he is the owner?" Leaving them embarrassed and quickly leaving the store. When we were smaller, he used to use a bit more intimidating language, but he is still a big guy and can be very intimidating with just his presence when he wants to be. Two groups of kids are opening the newest set of Magic the Gathering cards, a collectible card game. The first group is around the 10 to young teenage range, and the second was older teens pushing 19 to 20-ish. Both groups were having a good time, opening good stuff and getting excited. There were some people playing Magic and also a few other games too. One of the older kids hears one of the younger talking about getting a specific card and then offers to trade with them for the cards he got. Both groups are new to the game, so neither could possibly know what the value of the cards are, but I do, and so does the owner, who is sitting a few tables away playing a game with his friends. The older kid is trading away a trash card for a card worth like 50, but neither knew that. The owner pipes up saying that just trading one for one without knowing the value of the cards is always a bad idea for both parties, and directs them to a website where they can use to check the prices. They do, and the older kid is legitimately upset that he almost ripped the other kid off. The owner tells them that until they get more experience with the game, it is probably a pretty good idea just to not trade. They both thank him and go back to playing. Situation is over, and everyone is happy until one of our fairly regular colorful characters decides to involve himself. This guy has never been ill-intentioned, but always makes people uncomfortable by being a bit too forward or inviting himself into conversations or games with people he does not know. And since the situation is pretty much resolved, the only way to keep the conversation going is to take an opposing viewpoint. CC starts arguing that somehow it is absolutely okay to trade away stuff you do not know the value of as long as you think you are getting a good deal. The owner is very confused as he has not interacted with CC before and asks him point blank if he thinks it is okay for people to cheat children. CC says yes, just happy to be having a conversation and in his mind I guess winning the argument. The owner uses his signature line and says, "Well then, hi, my name is Name and I am the owner. Get out of my store and never come back." CC is so shook that he leaves without another word. But, of course, the tale continues because another one of our sketchier, almost regular guys tries to argue with the owner that it was unfair of him to ban CC just because he was okay with cheating children. It was not like he actually cheated himself, he was just okay with it. The owner is even more confused by this point and very frustrated and says, "Well, as I said, I am the owner, and if you think I should allow people in my store who are okay with cheating other customers, especially children, then you can get out and not come back too." They argue for a bit more, and the owner tells me to call the cops and get this other guy out of the store. Before I can pick up the phone, the guy leaves. The owner gets loud and says to the entire store that anyone who thinks it is okay to rip off children in the store should leave and not come back. As soon as he goes to sit back down to play his game, parents of the younger group of kids come up and thank him. At some point, those parents left a review of our store, 5 out of 5 stars. It must be nice to own your own store, be your own boss, and tell people you do not like to leave and to never come back. I get that the owner has great intentions, but I wonder how many times he has kicked people out of his store for having opposing viewpoints that do not involve cheating others. This last story is titled, "These Are the Fasteners You Are Looking For." I am in my late 20s, a woman, and very tall. People tell me that I look like I am in my 20s, but I just laugh about it and take it as a compliment. I used to work at Home Depot in the hardware section, and if you have ever been an employee at Home Depot, you know there is a lot of training and a lot to learn. Luckily, I worked construction as a teenager and was already familiar with 80% of the products in my department and a lot of products in other departments. I loved my job and loved learning about different products and what makes this tool better than that tool. Working the lift was my favorite thing, and I even had a fan base of other little kids who thought I was pretty cool for being a girl who drove machines. Super sweet, actually. They crowned me Princess of Hardware, to which my supervisor said, "If there is a Princess of Hardware, it is me." I told him that is fine, but he has to wear the crown. Anyway, fast forward to the middle of the workday, and I am chugging along, bringing down boxes and spider wrapping them. I notice an older man is looking a bit lost down the fastener aisle, so I walk up to him and ask, "Can I help you find something?" He says no, I am okay, so I ask the next person if I can help them. I am pointing out which screws to get, and I notice the same man still wandering up and down the aisle, looking very lost. I ask again, "Are you sure you do not need any help, sir?" "Nope, I do not need your help, thank you." He stomps off the way only fragile old men can, and I go about my job. Someone asks me if I know where something is in my section, but the place we keep it is empty. I walk them to garden, which sometimes has it because we keep it in different spots around the store. Hardware is next to lumber, and garden is all the way at the other end. I do not mind walking, so I just go with them and grab some and put a few in my location. One of the guys from lumber runs over to me and says, "I need your help. Someone has questions about fasteners, and I told them I would come find the person in charge." So after my supervisor, I am number 2, and even other departments ask me for help in their sections sometimes. I walk all the way back to the fasteners with the guy from lumber, and sure enough, it is the old man. I am standing there thinking that he does not want help from a woman even though this is my department, so he tracked down the closest man to ask for help. The guy from lumber says, "This is OP. This is her department. She can help you find anything." So I look at the guy and I ask him again, "What can I help you find?" He stuffs a metric screw out at me without saying anything, and I point behind him at the metric station he is standing in front of. I know how this station is organized because, duh, it is my department. I reach in the bottom drawer and pull out a bag holding 2 metric screws in his size. He gets all flipping and says, "Well, I only need 1. To which I say, "Well, we sell them in bags of 2. To which he replies, "Well, what do you expect me to do with the extra screw? I only need 1. Now, part of me wanted to tell him that he could shove it up his pasty dry behind, so I conveyed that as explicitly as I could, only using my eyes as communication, and I think he got the message. Oh, P, you should have told him to go screw himself. Get it? Screws. And now, let me share my views on these stories. Story 1, yes sir, I'm working in your yard, you have an appointment? This story is a frustrating yet relatable tale of being underestimated. As the only female gas technician, the narrator's competence is constantly questioned, and the customer's condescending attitude, calling her an office girl and suggesting a real tech should do the job, is infuriating. I admire her professionalism in completing the job efficiently despite the customer's hovering and snarky comments. The fact that she got it done in a solid time frame even with a rough meter proves her skill. It's a subtle revenge in itself, proving him wrong by doing the job flawlessly. I wish she'd had a chance to shut down his final jab more directly, but her restraint is commendable. Story 2, oh, you work here. Pregnant ladies don't work. The audacity of Karen in this story is next level. Dismissing the narrator's pregnant mom, the store owner, as incapable of working because of her pregnancy is both ignorant and insulting. I love how the employee's laughter and confirmation that the mom is the boss shut Karen down instantly. The image of her storming out red-faced with her embarrassed kid in tow is pure karma. It's a short but sweet victory, showing that sometimes the best revenge is simply revealing the truth and letting the entitled person's assumptions crumble. Story 3, I can pull out my badge for you. This one's a quick, satisfying clapback. The lady snapping her fingers and treating the narrator like a misbehaving child is peak entitlement, but the narrator's calm response, offering to show her badge and casually proving her employee's status, is perfect. I love that she didn't let the customer's attitude derail her, just went about her shift unfazed. The store manager having to clarify to the customer that the child was an employee must have been a delicious moment of embarrassment for her. It's a small but effective way to put someone in their place without escalating. Story 4, I am the manager. This story is a classic Karen takedown, and I'm here for it. The narrator stepping in as a manager to cover a cashier shift, only to be screamed at by a customer blaming her for her kid's tantrum, is so typical. Her walking to the office and coming back to declare I am the manager while everyone bursts out laughing is comedy gold. The customer's embarrassment and silence after realizing her mistake is the perfect outcome. No compensation needed, just a reality check. It's a great example of letting someone's own behavior expose their foolishness. Story 5, I'm more qualified for your job than you are. Annabelle's arrogance in this story is jaw-dropping, and the narrator's takedown is a masterclass in exposing a liar. Her bold claim to be more qualified for the narrator's own job, combined with stealing confidential documents and lying about her experience at money homes, sets her up for a spectacular fall. The narrator's restraint in letting her dig her own grave before revealing they were the actual director at money homes is deliciously satisfying. Watching Annabelle's confidence crumble as she bolts out the door is the kind of poetic justice that makes you want to cheer. This is a top-tier professional revenge story. Story 6, owner loves to tell people that he's the owner. The owner's tactic of blending in as a customer to catch problematic people in the act is brilliant, And I love how he uses his "I'm the owner" line to shut down bad behavior. The situation with the colorful character defending cheating kids is wild. His argument is so absurd it's almost comical. The owner's swift ban of both him and the other guy defending him feels justified, especially since it's about protecting younger customers. The parents' gratitude and the 5-star review show the community appreciates his stance. My only qualm is wondering if he sometimes goes too far with bans, but in this case, it was spot on. Story 7. These are the fasteners you are looking for. This story is equal parts frustrating and triumphant. The older man's refusal to accept help from the narrator, clearly because she's a woman, is infuriating, especially since she's the expert in her department. Her persistence in offering help, despite his dismissive attitude, and then delivering exactly what he needed, down to pulling the right screws from the metric station, is a quiet but powerful flex. The eye contact "screw you" moment is perfect. She didn't need to say it out loud to make her point. It's a great example of proving your worth through competence, even when someone doubts you at every turn. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode of our /IDoWorkHereLady. If you missed the last episode, it's right here, and if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. See you guys in the next one.